Hi, Peter Charles here, Folk to Life Fly Fishing. And today we're going to do another Atlantic salmon pattern called a Morgantaller by Perry Munro of Nova Scotia. Now this fly is intended for Atlantic salmon, but I mean, it's going to be an awesome steelhead fly. In fact, you know, if I was looking at this without knowing it was in an Atlantic salmon pattern section of a book, I would have thought it was a steelhead pattern. So let's get started looking at the materials. Now, it calls for a streamer hook, a partridge streamer hook, which is the D7A. I don't have any of those. So I'm going to use a Mustad 9671 in a size 2. And it does call for a size 2. We're going to use Vivus 80 in red thread. We're going to use orange saddle hackle for both the tail and the throat. The body is going to be this hot orange ice chenille. The wing is going to be orange calf tail, and we're going to use some gold crystal flash to finish it off. So let's get started. It's a simple fly. It's a quick tie. If you're a steelheader, I'd have some of these in my fly box because this is the type of pattern on an overcast day that's really going to glow in the water, especially when the water has a greenish tinge. Okay, the tail is not very big on this fly, so we're just going to take off a bit of hackle here. We're not taking off a lot. Okay, there is our hot orange tail. Now for our ice chenille. Now the tail got moved, so just always check your tail before you start winding because it can move. So put these wraps relatively close together. You want a fairly dense body. There we go. A little bit too much. We'll back it off. There we go. You want to have room for your throat and your wing. So I like to pull that back. Try and get the ice chenille to pull away from the eye of the hook. And you can see some in there, so we try and sweep that back. Putting a wrap, just sweep and wrap. Try and get as much of that away from the eye of the hook. If you have to, turn the vise upside down. And then wrap over to get the rest. It just cleans up the front of the fly. It's the nature of the beast when you're dealing with this kind of chenille. Now what I've done with the hackle is a throat. I'm going to tie it on like a hackle, and you can see I've prepared the feather. We're going to just wind one side. It's not a dense throat. You notice I'm pushing the hackle back as I wind. There we go. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to push this down and wrap over it. This is how you create a collar, I should say create a throat out of a collar. Now we're going to put on our calf tail, and my orange calf tail, oh the poor thing. It's really getting picked over. That's too curly. Come down here at the bottom. There we go. Now what I'm going to do here, this wing is fairly long, so I'm going to put some soft wraps in here and then just pull it free of the eye of the hook. Yeah, you're going to have some come off. That's normal. There we go. And put a couple of really firm wraps at the back to lock that into place. And now finally our crystal flash. And you cut this about the length of the wing. And now, if there's a few hairs or anything sticking out front, try to brush them back as much as possible, and then wrap over. This fly has a substantial red head, so don't be bashful with it. And now, to whip finish. And some UV. There we go, the Morgantaller. Bright orange. Meant to be fished on a really dull day. If I was in Atlantic salmon territory, I'd be using this on fall fish. I'm sure somebody could chime in and say, no, it works in the spring as well, but that would be my steelheader mentality, is use this in the fall. And if for steelhead, dull day, green water, well, that'll look great in the water. So give it a try, the Morgantaller. Cheers.